Let's talk about how to catch an exception in Python. We have a program here called findToDos.py. When it's run from the command line, it will accept any number of arguments we can give to it, and it'll assume that they're all file paths. It'll loop over those given file paths, counting the number of lines that contain the string to do. And if to do was found in this file, it'll print out the number of to-dos that were found, and then it'll continue onward, looping over the other file paths that were given. So if we run this program, giving it a couple file names, it will print out the number of to-dos that were found in these files, if one or more was found. And in readme.md, there's apparently one to-do that was found. Now, if we run this program with something that isn't a valid file name, for example, a directory, we'll get an error. A traceback is printed out to the screen. Now, a traceback is being printed out because an exception was raised in our code and that exception went unhandled. So we'd like to handle this specific exception. When a directory is given, it would be nice to print out an error message saying a directory is given, and then to continue onward, to continue printing out the number of to-dos and all the other file paths that were given. So to handle this exception, we could start on line 7. That's where the exception was actually raised in our code when we called the built-in open function. But this function here isn't actually a great place to handle this exception because we're returning from this function. We probably shouldn't also be printing and then trying to somehow continue onward. It's not really the job of this function. We should probably go up one more level in our call stack here. Remember, that's what is being represented by this traceback, to line 19. Line 19 is the next level up in our code where countinFile was actually called. So when our countinFile function is called, we'll catch this exception by using a try except block. So we'll try to run this one line of code, and if an is a directory error exception occurs, that's what's represented in the last line in our traceback, the type of exception that is actually being raised. So if an is a directory error occurs, we'll print out an error that the given path is a directory. And then we'll continue to the next iteration of our for loop, skipping over the current path and handling the next path. So if we run this code again, it works. I mean, it prints out an error, but it successfully prints out an error. It says error source is a directory, and then it continues onward, finding that there are to-dos in readme.md. To catch an exception in Python, you'll first need to identify the line that you need to handle that exception on, what line raised the exception. And then you'll want to put that line in a try block using an except block to note the specific type of exception that was raised, and then noting the block of code that should be run to handle that exception.